Hey guys, hope you're all well. My name is Wesley Fenter. I'm coming to you from 3D Printing Store. We have just finished our time at Hobby X, which is an expo for people who have different hobbies to come and look at what people are doing. Now, while I was at the stand, the most common question that I got was, how does a 3D printer work? I'm going to run you guys through the beginning to the end of how 3D printers work and how you can get files on the printer that you can start printing for yourself. Now please, if you are a veteran 3D printer and you guys have 3D printers and you know about 3D printers, this video is not for you. This video is for people who don't know anything about 3D printers and want to just find out how does it work. First things first, I'm going to explain how a 3D printer works in its own little function over here. How a 3D printer works very basically is that you have a hard plastic and it melts it down to create your object. So this is the plastic that you use. We call this filament. You get many different types of plastics: PLA, ABS, PETG, TPU, nylon filled, wood fills. You get a lot, but PLA is the easiest to work with and it is the most common one for you to use. I always say that a 3D printer works very similarly to a hot glue gun. How a hot glue gun works, you have your hard stick of glue which you put inside of the hot glue gun and it melts it down and you can then use the glue. It works very similarly in this case over here. Your filament goes through your extruder, which then gets fed through this PTFE tube. That's this white tube over here. A filament then goes down into this hot end over here. Now this is about 200 degrees Celsius. Every filament does take a different range of degree for you to use, but your average is around 200. 190 to 220 is where it's going to be at. That hot metal extruder over there then moves to specific coordinates on the printer, on the bed, which then uses the melted plastic to drag along and creates your image layer by layer. So for example, if you're printing a man, it's going to start at his feet, work its way up to his knees, work its way up to his hips, then his torso, then his head. That's pretty much how a 3D printer works. Hard plastic gets melted down and moves into specific coordinates, starting from the bottom all the way to the top. At the end of the time that it takes to print your print, you will then have a finished result. Your hot end will then move to the side away from your print and your printer will wait for you to take it off and switch your printer off or start it again. It's up to you. You get many different types of 3D printers. You get resin and FDM. This is an Fdm printer over here. This is a very basic concept of a 3D printer. Now, this printer is a bit more advanced in terms of its features, but fundamentally it works the same as any other Fdm printer. Uses the plastic, gets melted down, and gets put on the bed over here. Your other kind of 3D printer is called a resin 3D printer. Now, that will be its own video completely because it's a very different process, but instead of using hard plastic, it uses liquid resin. But anyone who's going to talk about 3D printers, the first type of 3D printer that you will see is an Fdm printer. How do you get your files from the computer or from the internet to get it onto your computer? So step one, you go online and you find a site where you can download 3D prints from. We like to use Thingiverse or My Mini Factory or Colts 3D. There is many different types of websites. Now some designs you do have to pay to get those designs, but other sites they do have them for free. There are millions and millions of free and paid for designs online. All you have to do is click on the design that you want, select download for your design. Your design will then download to your PC. Once it's downloaded, you open up the slicer for your 3D printer. Now we like to use a free downloaded slicer called Cura. Cura is very good. It's very user friendly. It's my personal favorite just because it's easy. Once you get your printed part or the thing that you want to print on your Cura slicer, this is where you can choose how big you want it to be, if you want a little bit longer than wider, how solid you want it to be printed. You can actually pick your percentage of infill. So 0% is completely hollow and 100% is completely solid, and you can pick your percentage in between. From there, you take that download, and from your Cura Slicer, you put it onto your SD card. That SD card then gets inserted into your 3D printer, and on your navigation screen over here, you just look for the play button. Once you find your print on your printer, you select play and you wait. Your printer is then going to heat up. Your extruder nozzle will heat up to that around about 200 degrees, and your bed, if you do have a heated bed, will heat up to about 60 degrees. Once that's all hot and warm, your print will then start. So you will see everything will start to home on your machine, that it can find out where it is, and from there it will start moving to the specific points that that Cura Slicer has told the 3D printer how big this item is. Now, it takes various times depending on what you're printing, but your average print was going to take about 2 to 3 hours. And if you're printing something bigger, it's going to take longer. If you're printing something with much more shapes inside of it, it's going to take longer as well. From there, you just wait for your printer to finish and you have your print. Guys, I hope this answers some of your questions of how a 3D printer works. Please leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe. If you guys need to get hold of us, you can find us at these details below. I hope you have a great day. See you on the next one.